Well, what do you think? You want to see how I built this thing? In a previous video, I built the wood enclosure for this guitar tube amplifier head, and now I definitely need to build a matching speaker cabinet to go with it. Now, most of the wood for that project came from an old IKEA dresser that I saved from the garbage, and I purposely used the smaller side panels in order to build the head so that I could save this big 1-inch thick pine panel here that was the top of the dresser in order to build a speaker cabinet. Now, the amplifier head measures just over 24 inches wide, so I think it'll look good sitting on top of a 2x12 speaker cabinet. So I went ahead and drew up a quick little diagram here for me to follow. And what I have to start doing now is breaking apart this board in order to cut out my pieces. Alright, so I've gone ahead and cut out the pieces that I need for the speaker cabinet. I have a top, a bottom, and 2 sides. If you're interested in building this speaker cabinet yourself, go ahead and check the description below this video for a link to the website article, and that'll give you dimensions and all kinds of other information that you'll need to build your own. Anyways, at this point, what I need to do is cut the joinery for the corners of the cabinet, and for that, I'm going to use box joints or finger joints. Now, I'm going to load these up and cut them out on my Matthias Wendell box joint jig. But don't be intimidated. If you don't have all this fancy stuff, that's okay. There are plenty of other easy options out there that you can still build a nice cabinet. Now, I believe you could build a really nice speaker cabinet with just a handsaw and a coping saw and a drill, and really not too much else. So if you're interested in seeing me build a really simple, bare bones, few tools speaker cabinet, let me know in the comments down below this video, and I'll get around to making that to show you that it is possible. So a lot of people like to get intimidated when they see other people's tools and they say, oh, it's easy if you have all that stuff. But in reality, you may have to spend a little bit more time and be a little more patient, but you can build things with just very few tools. So no excuses, don't get intimidated, you can do it. Anyways, what I need to do is load up these pieces into this jig and start cutting out my finger joints. So I have the speaker baffle cut, and it fits just about perfectly inside the cabinet. And right now I need to lay out where the speakers are going to go so I can cut the holes for those. Now this cabinet is basically a 2x12 shaped cabinet, mainly so that it's wide enough to look good underneath the amp head that I'm building it for. But right now I actually am only going to put one speaker inside of it. So I have here a G12Q and G12CS, both by Warehouse Guitar speakers. But these are both 8 ohm speakers. So in order to wire up an 8 ohm 2x12 cabinet, I really would need different speakers. I don't really feel like buying different speakers right now, so I'm just going to put the G12CS in it for now, and it'll basically be a 2x12 sized 1x12 cabinet. Now if you don't like that, too bad. It's not your amp, it's my amp, so I'm going to do whatever I want. So I'm going to put the one speaker in it for now, And if I decide to wire it up as a 2x12 later on, I can do that without needing to really redo anything. Now, even though these are 12-inch speakers, that's actually the size of the entire rim of the speaker. So they're actually a little bit over 12 inches, but the actual size of hole that we need to cut is only 10 3/4 inches. So I'm going to lay out where those holes need to be and mark them out, and then we can cut them. Now, I have absolute confidence that I could basically get a perfect hole just by going slowly with a jigsaw and cutting it out like that. But I know if I do that, there'll be people that'll say, oh, there's a better way, you can get a perfect hole. And I know. It's with a circle jig in the router. So now this is literally just a piece of paneling from my family room screwed to the bottom of my router. Went ahead and drilled a hole so that I can put a follower nail in the center of the circle and cut it out with the router bit. Okay, so things don't always go according to plan, and that's especially true if you don't really have a plan to begin with. So I originally was going to put down these cleats all the way around the edge, and I could screw the speaker baffle into the one side of them, and then my grill cloth frame to the other side. That was going to mean that my speaker baffle was going to sit about 2 inches inset into the cabinet. And I think that might cause some problems, and I don't really like that. So in thinking this through, I think what I'm going to do is cut down this frame. It's right now about 7/8 of an inch thick, and it doesn't need to be that thick. So I can cut this down thinner, and that'll help move things further towards the front. And instead of these cleats being on the front of the speaker baffle, there's really no reason why. I don't know why I didn't think of this. I'm going to put them on the back of the baffle instead. Now that means I can scoot everything closer to the front edge. And then with my newly trimmed down speaker frame, I can put that in, and the speakers are really only going to end up being about a 1/2 inch inset into the cabinet. Normally at this point, what you would want to do is hook up the positive and negative of the speaker directly to a 1/4-inch jack. I, however, want to add this L pad in the middle. This will basically give me a passive attenuator inside of the amp cabinet. Now this is really simple. This wiring is literally printed on the side of the box. So we just need to figure out some kind of enclosure to put all of this inside of. And for that, I'm going to use this Hammond enclosure. So we just need to drill a whole bunch of holes in there for the jack and a cord coming out and the L pad, and some extra holes in the top and bottom for heat to escape. And then I'm going to wire everything up with just some 12 gauge solid copper speaker wire. All right, so I wanted this enclosure to fit perfectly here in between the two back panel pieces. That didn't quite work out. It's a little bit too big and there isn't enough room for one of the flanges. So what I'm going to do is remove that one mounting cleat and just cut a little notch in it at the table saw to make room for the mounting flange for my enclosure. And then I can screw the enclosure down, screw the cleat back on, put everything back together, and now it all fits and it's done. Well, there you go. At this point, you probably know what to expect. It's done. It's over. So this is it. This is the end. Now I know there'll be some of you who will say, what does this amp sound like? And you've been hearing it this entire video. So all the music was me just playing a guitar plugged straight into this amp and miking up the cabinet. So if you weren't paying attention to the music, go back, listen to that, and that will tell you exactly what this amp sounds like. Don't forget, if you saw anything that I did wrong or ways you know you could have done something better, to let me know what those are in the comments down below this video. But otherwise, make sure to subscribe and not miss out any future videos when they come out. But most of all, thank you for watching and have a wonderful day.